Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this webinar for National Mentoring Month, How to Engage and Recruit. This webinar is hosted by Mentor, the National Mentoring Partnership. My name is Abby Lormer, and I will be your facilitator today. This is just a brief overview of what we'll be talking about today. And just so you're aware, all of these slides will be available to you after the webinar is over. So as I said, welcome. This webinar is going to introduce you to the National Mentoring Month, the National Mentoring Month Toolkit, and how to leverage National Mentoring Month to lend your voice to the mentoring movement. If you haven't already, you can head over to nationalmentoringmonth.org and download the National Mentoring Month Toolkit. Just some notes for today's webinar. All attendees are muted for best sound. And we really want this to be our participatory experience, so please use the question box at any time throughout the webinar to ask any questions. We will have a designated Q&A section at the end of the webinar. So as I said before, feel free to type in a question at any point. If I can, I will be answering those in the chat box, but we will have any questions that are for discussion for the panelists at the end. And after the webinar, all attendees will be receiving a PDF of the presentation and the webinar recording. Introducing our panelists today, we are going to have Heather Coyne, the Marketing and Communications Manager from Mentor, Erin Souza Resendiz, Director of Communications, Adrian Alicea, Director of Government Relations, and Bridget Donovan, Corporate Engagement Project Manager. And we also have two affiliate panelists, Nikki Patanod, Manager of Community Partnerships for Mentor Minnesota, and Christopher Margadana, who is the Director of Partner Engagement for Mentor Rhode Island. Getting us started today, we're going to have Heather Coyne introducing us to key messaging and online engagement.
Thanks, Abby, and hi, everyone. Before I dive right in, we're going to start off with a poll to see how many of you are familiar with National Mentoring Month and have participated in the past. So everyone, please take a minute to fill out the poll so we can get an idea of who's in the audience. All right, thanks everyone for participating. It looks like we have a bunch of newbies here, but some of you are familiar with National Mentoring Month, so I'm going to give a brief overview about what National Mentoring Month is and how you can engage online. All right, so here's a brief introduction to what National Mentoring Month is all about. As some of you know, National Mentoring Month is the largest scale mentoring campaign nationwide, which culminates in the National Mentoring Summit each year. This year, National Mentoring Month will reflect on the growth of the mentoring movement, recognize successful real-life mentoring relationships, and offer another opportunity to thank the mentors who have inspired us. I highly suggest that you check out our National Mentoring Month Toolkit, which provides guidance on the most impactful ways you can lend your voice to the mentoring movement throughout January. And we'll be discussing various elements of the toolkit throughout this webinar. Here we have a calendar of the National Mentoring Month key campaign dates. January is I Am a Mentor Day. January 17th is International Mentoring Day. January 21st is Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. January 30th through February 1st is the National Mentoring Summit, and if you haven't registered yet, please do so. And to finish out the month, January 31st is Thank Your Mentor Day, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. But there's a corresponding image for each of these days, so make sure to download these graphics to use on social media to help promote throughout January. The toolkit also contains key messaging to use throughout the month. Here I have pulled out 2 of those key messages and provided a link to the Power of Relationships report as well. This report, which came out earlier this year, shows us that at a time when much of the focus is on what divides us, the majority of Americans can agree that mentoring relationships are powerful tools for connection and are critical to our country's future. You can utilize these key messages along with the Power of Relationships report to help promote mentoring and recruit new mentors throughout January. And there are also corresponding graphics to these messages. Next, I'm going to focus on some ways to engage online during National Mentoring Month. The toolkit contains links to many different digital assets, which include National Mentoring Month logos and graphics, the Power of Relationships graphics that I just mentioned, National Mentoring Month videos, and our in real life videos that we utilize throughout the year. This year, during National Mentoring Month, we launched If You Mentor Me, a video that focused on young people's voices demonstrating the benefits of mentoring relationships. For 2019, we will feature a new video called Because of My Mentors, which shifts to the adult perspective and shows what is possible when young people grow up with mentors. So be on the lookout for that video along with some others in January. Online engagement, social media. Help us unite the mentoring narrative by posting on your social media platforms to add your voice to the mentoring movement during National Mentoring Month. We ask that you share your favorite memories, videos, and graphics with your friends and followers to spread the power of mentoring and inspire new volunteers to become mentors in real life. Make sure to follow Mentor on social media to share and repost messages during National Mentoring Month as well. And remember to always use #MentorIRL and #mentoring-month so that we can see your posts and also further amplify. And lastly, I wanted to point out again that January 31st is Thank Your Mentor Day. This is a day focused on thanking mentors that have inspired us throughout the year, and we aim to have high digital engagement on this day. And this year, in 2018, #ThankYourMentor had a reach of 9.4 million, along with 18.5 million impressions across Twitter and Instagram during the month of January, which is awesome engagement. So thank you to those who helped us reach those numbers. And nearly 4,000 unique users posted using this hashtag. So be sure to post on January 31st using #ThankYourMentor and #MentoringMonth so we can see and amplify your posts as well. And if you have any questions on how to engage online, put them in the chat box for me or feel free to send me an email.
Thanks, Heather. We're now going to pass it over to Erin Souza-Resendiz for Storytelling Repository and Media Outreach.
Thanks, Abby and Heather. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin. I'm excited to chat with you today about storytelling and ways that you can engage members of the media in National Mentoring Month. So I'll start with storytelling. As some of you may know, Mentor recently launched earlier this fall a storytelling repository. And there's really an online story sharing space for mentors, mentees, practitioners, experts, people like us in the field to share stories about mentoring. Because we know that personal stories provide points of connection and remind us of the power of relationships to break down otherness, find common ground, and elevate shared humanity. So we often think about great communications as twofold. It's sort of part art and part science, right? With the data and the statistics and our research being the more science part, the more data-driven and quantitative part. And the other key component of that really great communication is the storytelling, the personal reflections and the anecdotes. So in an effort to really boost that piece of the communications work, we've created the storytelling repository, and it's accessible to anyone by going to our website. And also there are logins for, or will be logins for our affiliates to access the back end of that too. So it's easily searchable for us on the mentor side, and easy for the public facing side for people to input their stories. And so on the next slide, you'll see a little bit more about what that looks like. and how you can utilize it. So we try to make it as simple as possible. Step one is to go to mentoring.org/stories. There's a quick informational field and story field. You upload your story, or you can type it out. If you're old school, you want to do it that way, type it out into the box, or if you have a file that's already created, you can upload it. And there's also the option to upload a photo or a video to really make your story come to life. And we know that stories that are shared with images are more easily shareable and get more engagement. So really highly recommend, if you have an image of you and your mentee or your mentor or folks in your program, if you're a program director or staffer and are submitting on behalf of other people, you could submit their photo as well. Then you just hit submit, and your story is just one step closer to inspiring other people to step up. And I think an important note here is really about our recruitment efforts during National Mentoring Month. We want not only to spread awareness and engagement around mentoring, but we want to be sure that we're recruiting new people into the movement and asking other people to step up and become mentors themselves. So I think storytelling is a really key part of that, because it can allow members of your mentoring program or people who have interacted with your affiliate, for example, to share what mentoring means to them in their own words. And just a quick note about some updates that we'll be doing to the storytelling repository later this week. Just check back for that, for them to be live. But we're trying to streamline the submission process to make it even easier than it already is, just ensuring that there are really streamlined boxes, and it's quicker and easier for anyone to submit, because we don't want any deterrence for people to be sharing their story. So stay on the lookout for that, for a kind of new and improved version of that repository page. And on the next slide, I just want to talk a little bit about media outreach. So we're talking about the storytelling piece of this, collecting stories and getting those sort of personal anecdotes about mentoring. And one way that I think we can really utilize them during National Mentoring Month is through media outreach. So some steps that I recommend taking, and some that we here at Mentor are taking ourselves to ensure some media engagement during National Mentoring Month, is first to track outlets that cover mentoring stories and feature articles in support of youth success. So start doing the homework now. If you don't already have a media list, or that handful of reporters, writers, or producers who are sort of friendly to the cause of mentoring, start creating one. So you can start doing that by tracking media outlets that already cover mentoring. And I found also that looking at outlets and writers who cover things that are sort of tangential to mentoring is really useful as well. So we're not yet at a point where every single media outlet has a mentoring beat, right? Hopefully we'll get there, but we do have lots of outlets with a very particular focus on youth, or education, or family and parenting. I recommend looking into those spaces as well, because those writers could certainly be interested in mentoring and maybe just haven't gotten the outreach yet from someone who could help them build stories. The next is send social media messages to reporters who are interested in writing about mentoring in youth. So once you've found those people, if you don't have their email addresses, or it's usually pretty easy to find online, but if for some reason you can't, follow them on social media, send them a direct message on Twitter, follow them on Facebook, see if they're posting stories that are in some way connected to mentoring or youth development, and send them a quick note and say, hey, I saw that you wrote about this, would love to tell you about National Mentoring Month and what we're doing to spread the word about mentoring. And the third is to ask your local or regional outlet for donated airtime or print ad space for use during National Mentoring Month. So this one is it's something that you could invest if you have the budget to invest in some ads. Awesome. But the reality is most of us don't have the budget for that sort of thing. But you can certainly engage local radio stations, are usually good at this, local TV stations, and ask if they offer any donated space for nonprofits. More often than not, you'll find that they say yes. So start there and see what you can find. Another way to get in touch with the right people at those stations or those websites is to look for an ad kit or a media kit on their website. that usually will give you all the information about the rate of buying ads, and if you're looking for some donated space, the contact person who you can reach out to ask for that. And the last is invite media contacts to any special events or activations you're doing in the local community. One of the best ways, I think, to get coverage about a particular topic, especially this event-based type of thing, like a National Mentoring Month or Thank Your Mentor Day, is engage the reporter in the event you're already doing, right? Because that could help get built-in media coverage. They'll be able to grab photos. They'll be able to interview mentors and mentees who are in attendance. They'll be able to get the expertise from your program, or if you're a mentor affiliate, all kind of in one place. So it's really a great opportunity to not only build relationships with reporters, but to give them everything they need sort of in one place. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide too. So again, just thinking about some tips and best practices for media engagement. So make it easy for the outlet. Give them as packaged a story as you can right up front. So if, for example, you're hoping they'll write about your local event celebrating National Mentoring Month, ensure that when you reach out to them with a press release, it includes a quote from your organization, it includes a quote from a mentor or mentee pair, that it includes any data that you hope that they would include from those stats that Heather mentioned earlier. Make sure that it includes photos if you have them, so that they're getting kind of everything they need already tied up with a bow. It makes it easier for them to say yes to your pitch if that's the case. Also, remember to provide the local angle, right? You all are the on-the-ground experts about what's happening in mentoring in your community. So make sure they know that. Share stories, share the data about what is the mentoring gap in your community? What are the wait lists like? Provide them the data that they might not be able to get from anyone else. And if you're looking for that sort of thing, we're always here to help here at Mentor. If you need access to stats, we can help you out with that. And finally, include personal stories from the community. Again, this is kind of the combination of both the quantitative and qualitative. You want to be able to show the need and drive recruitment, and also include personal stories and stories about the young people who are impacted when they do have mentors, and the mentors who are impacted when they volunteer in this way. And you'll see in the National Mentoring Month Toolkit that there is a template press release for you to use to announce National Mentoring Month, and there's a place for your organization to include their own quote about what this means to them. So that's already produced for you. And one last thing I would just remind us all is that we want this to be action-oriented, right? So if you are able to get a local outlet to write a story about National Mentoring Month and to spotlight mentor-mentee pair, for example, don't be shy about asking them to include a call to action. Drive people to the storytelling repository, drive people to the mentoring connector where they can find opportunities to mentor themselves. Because at the end of the day, we know that this is all about driving engagement and ensuring that more people can get involved in the movement if they want to. So don't be shy about making that ask to reporters and producers right up front when you're pitching the story.
Thank you, Erin. And now I'm going to introduce Adrienne Alisea, who will be talking about public official outreach and advocacy.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk about the ways that programs and partners can engage with elected officials during National Mentoring Month. Can you move over to the next slide? Great. So first, why? So getting to know your elected officials in your community can result in really building the relationships that you need to support mentoring and youth development policy and advocacy. We really hope that these interactions during National Mentoring Month in particular can help highlight the real life impact of mentoring and then actually translate that into policy change. So elected officials are really good partners for a number of reasons. One of the biggest ones, though, is that they really have a public platform. They have the ability to really mobilize large constituencies of people through their public influence. They can do this through events, through their social media, and of course through the relationships that they have as well. They're also really good partners because they can actually prompt policy change, either in your city or your state or nationwide. Some good examples of this are, mayors can partner with you to lead a mentor recruitment campaign in your city, and they can encourage their own staff to become mentors. Governors can use state funding to support mentoring programs, and of course, members of Congress can introduce legislation that supports funds for mentoring, and they can help close the mentoring gap nationally. So National Mentoring Month really is the perfect opportunity for either continued engagement with elected officials or even first-time engagement with them as well. So on my next slide, I'm going to talk to you about the 6 easy ways that we've included for how you can engage with elected officials. And so the first way is through asking your mayor or governor to issue a proclamation declaring it National Mentoring Month in your city or state. Proclamations are a really, really great way for elected officials to recognize either people, events, campaigns, or other important days in their communities. They're generally written in collaboration with the elected officials' communication staff. And most mayors or governors will allow you to request them on their website. So you can actually go and they have a little section that says proclamation request. For those who don't have it, you can just email someone on their communications staff and let them know that you'd like them to issue a proclamation on National Mentoring Month as well. So these proclamations really talk about the impact of an issue in a community, and they often either recognize specific programs or organizations who are leading that work. We've seen really good ones, mayors calling out specific programs in their community, the number of mentors, the need for recruitment, and they're really great because they do garner media attention. And the really cool thing, too, is there are staff in these elected officials' office who may have not been sort of introduced to that issue, and this is a really easy way for them to start to realize, oh, it's National Mentoring Month. What are some of the other initiatives besides the proclamation that we can be engaging on as well? So it really does. It allows them to continue working on mentoring even after National Mentoring Month is over. It really lays that groundwork. In the toolkit, we've provided for you a template letter. You can just send that off to an elected official's office, asking them to write the proclamation. It's very easy. We also have a template proclamation. So lots of elected officials will want to basically take this proclamation that we've written and tweak it based on what's best for them. Some of them will want to write something completely different. It just depends on the elected official. And then lastly, we have a template press release that you can send to elected officials as well, and they can use this to amplify their messages about National Mentoring Month. On this next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about ways that you can invite elected officials to events and then on-site visits during National Mentoring Month. So honestly, inviting elected officials to events is just a really important way of building rapport with them. And you can do this, asking them to come and spend an hour at your program, or you can ask them to present an award to an outstanding volunteer at an event you're having. There's a lot of ways that you can get involved with them. For many elected officials, until they really see the impact of mentoring in their community firsthand, a lot of these things are just like numbers and stories. So even that hour that they're there, that 5 minutes that they're presenting an award, it can really help change their sort of view on a program or the impact of a program. Many elected officials after these site visits or after events have actually asked programmatic staff at programs for legislative ideas. They've hired young people as interns afterwards. They've become mentors themselves. So these really are real-life opportunities to show elected officials what mentoring really is and its impact. In the toolkit, we've included the guide on how to invite your elected officials to your mentoring program. It outlines who you need to contact in an office, what information you need to have ready for them, and how to conduct follow-up after the event so that you're maximizing your relationship with them after as well. Similarly related, on our next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about requesting meetings with elected officials during National Mentoring Month. If for some reason they can't make it out to your mentoring program or present at your event, this is another option. It's really a great time to bring together your colleagues from partner organizations from your city or state to meet with your mayor, your governor, your state official, your member of Congress. In particular, members of Congress generally have more time to spend with you when they're in their district offices. rather than their Washington, D.C. offices. Their schedules are much more flexible. They aren't moving from meeting to meeting. So January is just a really wonderful time to connect with them. In our toolkit, we have a step-by-step guide on how to schedule a meeting with elected officials. It provides all the resources you need, talking points, and how to build your case for support before you meet with them as well. My number one tip for any of these kinds of meetings is to really get together and collaborate with the other organizations or colleagues that will be joining you in your meeting, and think through the story that you want to tell to the elected official, not only about your successes, which we should always be talking about our successes, but also discussing the barriers or challenges that your program is facing, whether that be with recruitment or funding, because those are issues that policymakers can actually try to address through legislation, and so they want to hear those things as well. So, and a guide on this is also included. So can we move to the next slide? Great. So one of the last ways that you can get involved with elected officials is to nominate a mayor for mentoring. Mayors for Mentoring recognizes the powerful contributions of mayors in supporting the mentoring field. It's a campaign that allows all of us to really uplift the policies and efforts of mayors and cities throughout the country. Mayors really are doing a lot of amazing work. They're leading mentor recruitment campaigns in their cities. Some of them are funding citywide initiatives to support programs. Some of them are partnering with programs for their expertise and then integrating mentoring into the other services that their administration provides. And a lot of them are also creating policies that allow city employees paid time off to mentor. So these important contributions are really helping to advance the movement. So if you have a mayor or you know a mayor who's demonstrated leadership in their efforts to expand mentoring, you can visit our website and actually nominate them to be highlighted. They'll be nominated on Mentor social media and on our website as well, and so we want to uplift and celebrate them as well. On my last slide, I've just included a list of links to the resources that I've outlined that are in the toolkit. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Adrienne. I'm now going to pass it over to Bridget Donovan, who is going to be talking about corporate engagement and partnership opportunities.
Thanks, Abby. Hi, everybody. Yeah, just to reiterate, I'm here today to talk about corporate engagement and partnership opportunities that come out of National Mentoring Month. So there's a variety of reasons for a company to engage with National Mentoring Month. It's a great way to gain visibility. We know that it can build staff morale and employee satisfaction when companies formally support mentoring efforts. It's a great time to recognize employee volunteers who might be shining in the company. And it's a way to elevate the platform to inspire other companies to get involved in the mentoring movement. So there's four main ways to participate. Companies can share, support, recruit, and recognize during National Mentoring Month, and I'm going to dive into each of those a little bit deeper. So the first way to really participate is to share your stories. So internally, companies can use this as an opportunity to feature employee mentor-mentee stories on social media. Maybe they want to put it on their website or in employee newsletters. Externally, this might be a fantastic opportunity for programs to be partnering with corporate partners, writing blogs or co-authoring op-eds about mentoring programs that they're participating in and why mentoring is a priority, and showcasing successes that they've had as companies participating in the mentoring movement. It's also a great time for companies to share social media plans with their partners or mentor so that we can help to elevate the efforts that companies are making during National Mentoring Month. The second way that companies can engage is by supporting mentoring program efforts. Use this as a time to formally reach out to current partners or new nonprofit programs, asking how you can partner and support the initiatives that they're undertaking and events that they may be having for National Mentoring Month. Be sure to share the National Mentoring Month corporate guide with them, which is on the website as well, so that your efforts are collaborative and successful. Companies can contribute to recruiting mentors by hosting mentoring fair or brown bag lunches at their office, showcasing local mentoring programs to their employees. They can send out emails or mail blasts to their employees or clients, sharing why the company supports mentoring initiatives. or they can consider even announcing a formal challenge to recruit a specific number of mentors during National Mentoring Month, leveraging the mentoring connector for that effort. And the final way that companies can engage with National Mentoring Month is by recognizing employee mentors. This is a really fantastic time for companies to take the time to celebrate people in their organization who are contributing to the mentoring movement. They can host an event and invite program partners to share a few words about the impacts that they're having. They can recognize star employees who have gone above and beyond as mentors. And wherever possible, they should be engaging the mentees as well, as they're the key part of this program and why we're doing all of this. And finally, if they want to do something a little bit more involved, they can send a thank you email from the CEO or president to the employee mentors, talking about why it's important to the company that folks are engaging in this work, and recognizing the difference that they're making. Just as an example, Jamie Dimond at JP Morgan Chase sent around a recorded voicemail to all of the employees participating in the program at JP Morgan Chase, and it was something that was really special to those employees, and even though they knew that it was recorded, the recognition made a difference to them. So this is a really great time to be participating in efforts like that to recognize the employees who are doing great work. If you're a program, now's the time to reach out to partners who you know could use this as a platform.
Great, thank you so much, Bridget. And now to introduce the affiliate perspective is Nikki Patnoff from Mentor Minnesota.
Hello, everybody. As Abby just said, I'm Nikki Patnoff from Mentor Minnesota, and I am just going to share some of the things that we do here in Minnesota for National Mentoring Month, and some of the kind of the tips I picked up along the way of kind of being in charge of our National Mentoring Month campaigns and activities for the past few years. January is by far our most popular month on social media. It's when we kind of garner the most impressions, the most follows, the more interaction between our partners, things like that. In January, I tried to post on social media once a day, which for some folks can seem really intimidating or a lot, but I really rely heavily on the tools and resources at my disposal. So the first thing I do is I try to pre-plan all of it in advance, and I do that by using a spreadsheet, and I have a kind of a screenshot of that up here for you to look at. So I kind of create a spreadsheet where I outline the whole month of Twitter and Facebook posts, and in the slide you can see even where I indicate on that, like the red circle just kind of even shows like what image I'm going to use for each post, and I'll explain in a few moments why I did that. But as I was saying, I create all of these in a post so it outlines my whole month, so I can kind of see where the key dates are, like Heather had mentioned. You know, when is it International Mentoring Day? When is it Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Mentoring Day, et cetera, et cetera. Then I can kind of align that with other messaging and events that are happening throughout the month, and then I can fill it in with where there are gaps needed. So is there an interesting statistic? Is there an event happening? Is there something happening with one of our mentoring programs in the state that I can be promoting at the same time? So I can kind of fill in gaps where are needed. In the National Mentoring Month Toolkit that all of the other speakers have talked about in depth, there's a lot of key messages and images put together that are really plug and play. Download those, use those. I can't encourage that enough. And don't forget to use those hashtags. They're really, really important. And then what Erin was talking about during her slides, and it made me think of ways. So when you're looking at other opportunities for hashtags in social media, and you know, when you're thinking about ways to get media involved, you know, what are like the reporters using as their hashtags? Are there, you know, I can think in Minnesota, here in Minneapolis, there's a couple of the morning news shows that have hashtags for their morning shows, and sometimes they have a question of the day, and the hosts of those shows will put it up on social media, and then they'll retweet people's responses. And so this could be a really great opportunity for you to leverage social media to talk about Mentoring Month during Mentoring Month in January. And if the question is relevant to that, you can post. So in the past, when there's been questions about Giving Tuesday or things like that, I've talked about giving to mentoring and supporting mentoring programs, things like that during that month. And that's getting tweeted out to all of their followers. And it's just a very interesting, very easy way to kind of get access to all of their followers, and then using the hashtags that we all are using, and it just kind of keeps that ripple effect going. Let's see here. And it's really important to try to include that call to action on all of your all of the tweets and posts during the month. And if I don't have a specific one, I always try to just route people to like become a mentor, the mentoring connector. We see a pretty good uptick of traffic into this part of our website for people who are looking for opportunities to either become a mentor, or if they're looking for a mentor for their child. On the next slide, I talk about pre-planning media in advance, because I then use a tool to help me schedule it in advance. And on the image here is just a screenshot of, I use Hootsuite to help me, but there are a lot of options out there. There's TweetDeck, there's Buffer, I think is another one. It's a platform that just allows you to schedule posts with links, photos across all different types. So I use it for Facebook and Twitter. It has a great dashboard that lets me follow different hashtags, so like hashtag mentor IRL and hashtag mentoring month, so I can keep up with the latest posts about what people are posting and saying. I can retweet and like and do all of that right within the platform, which is really great. But I have a free account on Hootsuite, and it only allows me to schedule 30 posts at a time. So when I write out my whole content for the month, I can only schedule for about 12 to 15 days at a time. So I like to have all of that content in one space, which includes the links and the images that I plan to use, so that when I hop back into Hootsuite, I can quickly schedule out more content, and then I don't have to think about and create new content. I have that time dedicated, and then it's all there ready for me, and then I can just quickly post it and copy and paste it in and upload the images that I want to use, and then it's ready to go as the month progresses, because there's so much happening and there's so many activities throughout the month that it can easily get lost, and I've already spent the time writing all the messages out. On the next slide, one of the highlights for us in National Mentoring Month is what we've partnered with the Minnesota Timberwolves, our NBA team, to host a mentor night. This has always been a really popular and exciting opportunity for our mentoring programs. We've sent, over the past 3 years, we've sent over 400 mentoring matches to the game, or to different games. And at each of the games, we've been able to include some extra special, either pre-game, halftime, or post-game experiences for matches. And so you can see some of those highlighted in the pictures here. We've done high five tunnels before the game and at halftime. We've done on-court ball acceptances. We've been on the Jumbotron. We've done anthem buddies where mentees have gone out and stood in front of players for the national anthem. We've done free throw shots after the game and cut down a piece of the net. We've done a post-game panel that featured a Timberwolves player and a Lynx player who each shared their mentoring stories. And we've been really lucky to build a really great relationship with some sponsors, and then with the Timberwolves community relations and sales teams to make these nights happen. And it's been a really fun opportunity to send mentoring matches all across the state to an NBA game, which is a really great opportunity that not everybody gets to have. And then I just want to kind of go back to on the next slide, just some highlights that we had from this past National Mentoring Month. In 2017 and 2018, when I went back and looked at kind of some of our metrics for our social media, we saw over a 320% increase in our number of impressions during January. So it's by far, like I said, our highest time on social media. We have about 4 times the amount of engagement than we do in any of the other months that we have. And this could be, the frequency of posts, the use of media and tweets, our hashtags, sharing the National Mentoring Month content, how we're who we're interacting with, But we've also seen this engagement carry into February and into March, and then it tends to even out for the rest of the year. But without having a full marketing team at my disposal, we haven't really been able to fully dig on the data, but I love the energy that we're able to drive into National Mentoring Month every year. So I'm really excited to participate in 2019's National Mentoring Month, and that's all I have for me. So I'm excited to hear what Christopher has.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I love your enthusiasm. And now also speaking from an affiliate perspective is Christopher Margadana from Mentor Rhode Island.
Great, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk today about some of the stuff that we do for National Mentoring Month here in Rhode Island. So I'm going to get started because there's a long list of things. So the first thing that we do is we always set up a call 10, which is through our local television station. And what we do is we get about 4 people from our office to go there, and they usually will run some type of story with us about what we're doing. So in 2017, we did an event at Amgen with Million Women Mentors. And the governor was there and really launching that campaign here in Rhode Island. And then in 2018, we had our ribbon cutting that we did for our office, which you can see in the picture. And again, getting a new space and what that was like. And we, we're there, people call in and they find out more about mentoring, right? And we say, we've got this many kids on the waiting list, you can help out, call us here today. We're in the studio, So it's a great way to get the word out there to a lot of different people, whether or not it's a quick impression. We get about 50 mentors from it a year. So it really does make a difference being there in the station. We also participate in something around, we have drag bingo, which is huge. There's about 1,200 people there a month. And in January, we'll go there, again, to get the word about National Mentoring Month, to be there and be in front of a diverse audience of participants and try to get those people matched with mentees. We also do an event, usually through our local Chamber of Commerce. And so we've hosted a leads luncheon before. So that's where, business professionals come in and they talk to other business professionals trying to get leads. And again, with mentoring being the focus there, and what our organization does, we usually get about 10 minutes to talk about mentoring to the group uninterrupted. So that's really great. And then we also, this year, we'll be hosting a business after hours. So again, having local business professionals here talking about mentoring, what's the importance of mentoring. We have about a staff of 8 people here. So we're really able to kind of work the room and get out there and introduce ourselves to all the people in the room and really tell them, how important it is that they partake in mentoring or they become mentors. These are people with flexible schedules. So they're able to take that time out of the day, maybe for school-based mentoring, or again, they have that extra time to mentor in some other capacity. We also use it for National Mentoring Month for new business development. And so when I'm going out there, reaching out to different organizations and different companies trying to get mentors from them, I always say, well, a great time for us to come in would be during January. It's National Mentoring Month, and being able to use that as kind of leverage to say, hey, this is a great way for you to get started with us. This is a national thing, and you can really be a part of that. This year, I'm going into 2 new companies, into Bank Newport, and I'm also going into Raytheon to give presentations during that month. So again, just another way to kind of do that. Another thing that we're doing is through, I don't have it listed here, but with one of our local restaurants here, every Tuesday will be Mentoring Tuesday. So all those proceeds for the people that go there, about 15% of the proceeds will go back to us. So again, another great way to kind of get the word out there, get some consistency going and things like that. If we go to the next slide, we'll kind of talk about the awareness that we also do. So on January 1st, we do our frozen clam dip and Obsta plunge. So, we get about 100 to 200 people to jump into the water, into the ocean. Being the ocean state's a great fundraiser for us. But not only is it great as a fundraiser, but we get lots of media coverage. So newspapers, TV, radio, our president and CEO, Joanne Schofield, is everywhere, on all the different stations talking about the event and really, again, saying this is our kickoff for National Mentoring Month and getting people involved and engaged and really excited about it. We've also been hosting mentor mingles. So we have done those in 4 different communities here in Rhode Island. And one of them is in Woonsocket, where we host CVS mentors. So one was actually at CVS. So we had about we had about 25 different CVS employees who we were able to kind of honor there and have a luncheon for them and get them to talk to one another because the company is so large, and see that there's a lot of good work going on there. We've also hosted one in Newport, and that was at the Boys and Girls Club. So again, we have mentors there and getting them to again meet each other and really see that there's a lot of good work happening in the community. This year, we'll be hosting our annual campaign kickoff in January. So we're really reorganizing the way that we do Fundamental here, and we're going to do our kickoff in January to really start to raise awareness and raise money for the organization. And again, when the best time to do it other than National Mentoring Month. We also have something called the Big Blue Bug here in Rhode Island. It's located on Interstate 95, and you can see a picture there on the right. And we actually get a sign put up right next to it that says, you know, our organization and a phone number and a website. And people will call us from seeing that as well. It's a great awareness. And we usually schedule that out about a year or two in advance. So again, maybe not something you can, you know, do right away. It might be something that you get on the list for next year, but always to keep in mind that those different things are happening. And that is all I have.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was great information. So now we're going to be entering our question and answer portion of the webinar. I'm going to give folks a couple of minutes to send in some questions. We'll have about 10 minutes for this, so attendees, you can use the question box and shoot us any question that you have for any panelist. And I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. Thank you. Okay, great. So we have a question for the affiliate perspective. And either Nikki or Chris can answer this, what are your most successful events for mentors to get together, and what are good ways to become more involved with your local mentoring program match events?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, anytime you can provide like food or cocktails, I think I think you can definitely get mentors to come and network and be involved. I think anytime you can use it as an excuse to thank them for participating and being a mentor, I think anytime you can recognize them, I think that's definitely helpful. Or providing just kind of an opportunity for fun or coming together, I think is definitely a great way to bring people together. I don't know, Christopher, do you have any suggestions?
So kind of like I talked about earlier with the mentor mingles, really getting the mentors together in the same room, providing food, definitely 100% a good thing. And, you know, and really honoring them, right? Using the Thank Your Mentor platform to do that as well. It really varies. You know, we don't get all of our mentors to come, of course, you know, but the ones who do want to come out and want to be a part of something bigger, that's a great thing. And so again, doing that during National Mentoring Month, saying this is the time that's really about you guys, right? And about the good work that you do, can really kind of hype them up, you know, and also maybe saying, hey, bring a friend, right? Like let's, you know, bring someone else in the room so we can learn more about what other people are doing and, you know, what is it really like to be a mentor, and learn not just only from my friend, but from other people in the room as well.
Yep. And then what was part 2 of that question?
No, I think you guys answered both parts of the question.
Okay.
I think that was a good answer. Thank you. So another question we have for Adrian Alicea is, can you speak to the value of meeting with elected official staff? So not just the elected official themselves, but also their team?
Sure, yeah. So especially for members of Congress, but this is definitely true of governors and mayors as well. The staff does the bulk majority of preparation for their bosses. So after they meet with you, they go to their bosses and sort of debrief with them what you talked about. And they also help write the first draft of pretty much every piece of legislation that member of Congress or that governor or elected official will introduce or work on. So actually, these relationships are just as important as the elected official. You'll also get more time with staff than with the elected official, so you sort of want to make the best use of it. They're also just a lot more accessible than their bosses are, and they really are the people who prep, inform, educate their bosses. So in some cases, these relationships are a little bit, maybe even more important than building them with the elected official themselves.
That's such a good point, Adrienne. Thank you so much for answering the question. It's definitely important to value not just the elected official, but their whole team, and recognize the importance of getting out there. So this is a question for any of the panelists. What are some of the ways that we can measure success for National Mentoring Month for programs themselves?
Any way, I mean, analytics, so any way you can kind of track any type of impressions or, retweets, likes, favorites, new followers, those type of basic analytics, or how many hits your website are getting. I mean, that's a kind of an easy way to basic way to look at, are you having heavier traffic during National Mentoring Month? Are you getting more mentors kind of coming through? That's another way to kind of keep track. Are you, how many meetings are you having with elected officials or their offices, things like that. I think success is during National Mentoring Month is really determined based on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So are you trying to, set up meetings and make those connections with elected officials? If you are, and you accomplish that, that's amazing. Are you trying to launch a mentor recruitment campaign and you were able to recruit X amount of mentors during National Mentoring Month and you did? That's amazing. I think it just really depends on what it is that you're trying to accomplish for the month.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very internal, right? So what are you trying to get out of this? What are you trying to do? If it's, we're just trying to get, we're trying to recruit 50 mentors and you've done that, right? Then that's a success. Or you're trying to get into 3 new local businesses, and you've done that, that's a success, right?
Yep.
I think it's about reaching, though, as many touch points as you can and within your bandwidth, right? Because you don't want to go above and beyond and kill yourself, but you want to be able to make sure that, you are making those touch points. And I think that will automatically make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that I would just add that knowing that these tools are more than just a means to an end of a checklist of things to get done in the month of January, but understanding that this is a national campaign that is there for you to capitalize on. And then sort of going back to what everybody else said, but using that as an opportunity to sit down and really think about what it is you're trying to accomplish, and then seeing how those tools can best amplify the campaigns that you're having. So taking a step back maybe before the month of January and understanding those goals and how that you're going to use these tools outside of just great content to leverage is really important.
Thank you, everyone, for answering that question. That was some really good advice. Moving on, the next question is, how do you keep the energy gained through National Mentoring Month going to the following month?
Yeah, I can take this one. Building off of what Bridget said, it's really about taking what you've learned during National Mentoring Month, which things work for you, if it's social media, if it's corporate engagement, if it's elected officials, which events worked best for you, and really utilizing those going forward for the rest of the year. It's nice that National Mentoring Month is at the beginning of the year so that you can learn up front and then utilize those activities throughout the rest of the year. Another way also is we here at Mentor have monthly mentoring themes, and so we have 4 more campaigns later in the year in addition to National Mentoring Month that helps us keep the movement going throughout the year. And those themes can be found on Mentor's website, and you can engage with those monthly themes for the rest of the year to keep your social media and digital engagement ongoing and part of the National Mentoring Voice.
Great, thank you, Heather. Another question specifically for folks who talked about social media. Have you found that certain social media platforms are more effective than others for certain things? For example, do you use Instagram to reach actual youth and mentees, or Twitter for link sharing, etc.?
That's a good question. Since, well, in Minnesota, at least for us, we don't actually do mentoring ourselves. We work with mentoring programs. So we do have an Instagram. We're very new to Instagram. If you want to follow us, we're at Mentor Minnesota. Just had to put that out there. So we are new to the Instagram world in that sense, but so we'll probably use it as a way to showcase or highlight opportunities where we're out talking about mentoring, and highlight opportunities like National Mentoring Month, things like that. But we probably won't use it as like a recruiting campaign or trying to gain interest for a younger audience. I'm not exactly sure what we're gonna use it with yet. That's why we're still so new to it. But for Twitter and Facebook, those are kind of the primary ones that we use. We do have the LinkedIn page that we use for primarily working with professionals in the mentoring field to share information and opportunities that are coming up. But I tend to lean a little bit heavier into Twitter than I do Facebook, and that's just because I have a higher audience and a better engagement on Twitter than I do on Facebook. And that just has come through trial and error and utilizing the same messages, the same links, the same images between both of them. I just tend to have a higher engagement on Twitter than Facebook. But I haven't, I guess, tested to see, comparing between the two of them, why that is.
Thanks, Nikki. I think you said something really important, that you have more followers on Twitter, so definitely seeing where you have a bigger audience and leaning on that, I think, is important, and then growing from there. There's certainly some analytic tools that folks could use to see more of the behind the scenes of or articles that you could read around why certain social media platforms are reaching certain people. But where do you have the biggest audience, and how can you capitalize off of that momentum? Thanks, Nikki. And now I think we're ready to wrap up, so I'm just going to pass it on over to Heather for some closing thoughts.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone, especially the people that are new to National Mentoring Month, for coming out and listening to our webinar. If you haven't downloaded the National Mentoring Month Toolkit, go ahead and do so at nationalmentoringmonth.org, and feel free to email us any questions that you have, and we look forward to seeing your engagement online throughout January. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.